Well, welcome to Your In Depth, where we walk through and break down our favorite fictional universes. Today, we continue our journey in The Mandalorian in our coverage of that. We are going to be on Chapter 13, titled The Jedi.
Woo!
Yeah, Evan, you're probably particularly excited for this
Yeah, we'll
episode.
use the word excited. That sounds about right. Let's go with that.
What'd you say?
What?
I don't know what you said.
That's probably a good thing.
Well, but I need to know for the record. I'll hear it later when I record. I'll just jot, or when I edit, I'll jot down the time and put a question mark next to it. Anyway, so before we do get started and into this episode, we both have a piece of Star Wars news. So Evan, if you want to lead us with that, what do you got to mention?
Yeah, so this got added to Disney Plus, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's fairly new to Disney Plus. They released the Star Wars Visions, little TV show on Disney Plus, and I have not watched it yet, but from my understanding of looking at some of the episode descriptions, it's more of just like kind of like some short stories. And from reading some of the descriptions, it seems like it covers, the Republic, the Empire, and the New Republic eras. So,
Yeah,
should be
and
interesting. I haven't watched it yet, but we'll see.
yeah. And if you don't have any idea what that is, just a general kind of summary of it is provided by maybe Wikipedia, but some Google search basically. It says 7 Japanese animation studios bring their unique perspectives to the Star Wars universe through a series of short films. So they're pretty short films, just more of like a anime feel to it. But there's various, just different styles, different stories told in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, like the longest one is like 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah,
And some of them
they're
are
pretty
even
short.
as short as like a quick like 10 or 12-minute thing is all. So they're not very long. It's just, I don't know if they're just supposed to be like answering some questions or if it's just, side stories or what exactly. Like I said, I haven't watched them yet.
Yeah,
But that is
I
something
haven't
new that Disney
either.
Plus added, finally came out with, because that was part of their, Disney's on their list of different Star Wars shows and stuff they were going to release. So that is out
Yeah.
now. But then Jacob, you had something you wanted to.
Yep. The
as
only
well.
other thing that I saw is that we are getting a trailer for the Book of Boba Fett, an upcoming show. We're gonna get a trailer November 12th, apparently. That's just something I had seen. It seemed pretty consistent amongst some other ones because I follow so many accounts that like I probably see 3 times, like 3 of the same post from the different accounts. And so it's like looking into them, they do their own kind of like research. So it's like they've got their own sources. It's not like them all reposting the same one. But I guess that kind of confirms it to me that that's probably a little more reliable. But yeah, no, I mean, regardless, apparently November 12th, new, upcoming Star Wars series. So
Solid.
yeah.
I had one more thing that I just remembered as
Oh.
well.
All right.
It was rumored. There's no concrete facts or evidence or anything to it now, but I've been seeing it quite a bit actually.
Okay.
But it's rumored that Mandalorian season 3 is going to kind of be going away from the typical, Mandalorian storyline because of how Mandalorian season 2 ends. It's still going to
Okay.
have Mando in it. It's going to still have some familiar faces in it, but it was kind of like I guess the whispers I guess going on is leading people to believe that might be making more appearances in the 3rd season.
Okay.
And that type of stuff. And Jacob, you can put a note there to bleep that name out.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like I want to say, I don't know, one of the
Yeah.
probably heavier spoilers.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until I said it.
It's okay. We're almost done with the season.
But yeah, so a specific character will have more appearances in this 3rd season. That's been a rumor going around. It's something I've been seeing popping up quite a bit on Facebook, on those articles and stuff that get posted there, and some of the
Yeah.
Star Wars groups I'm a part of. but I had just thought of that, so I thought
Yeah.
I'd mention that. Like I said, there's no concrete like this is for sure it's going to go off on its own direction. There's nothing saying that hey it's going to be basically following the same way it's been going. But it's just kind of like it. A lot of people are thinking. A lot of people that kind of like give those theories and whatnot are thinking it's going to take a pretty hard left turn.
Hmm.
With not so much the way that the episodes go. It's like essentially throughout the whole first and second season, we just follow Mando, and that's it.
Right.
But it's kind of like maybe you'll be following Mando and someone else, like going back and forth between two separate characters and their own scenes, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then another part of that too was I think with the Book of Boba Fett, there was some rumors that potentially seeing some characters we've seen in Mandalorian as maybe side characters in the Book of Boba Fett.
Hmm.
But again, it's all rumors right now. That's just kind of like maybe do a little crossover every once in a while. Potential, again, nothing confirmed as of
Yeah.
right now, as of my
Hmm.
knowledge. But
I see. Yeah, I've definitely heard that too. My audio's messed up. Hold on. What is going on? That does not look right.
hmm
I don't sound bad. Never mind. Okay. I don't know what was going on. It just kind of looked weird. But anyway, resuming. Okay.
I just
Yeah.
want you to know, Jacob, when you said I don't sound bad, that opened a door, and I just decided not to go through.
Why don't we move along into getting into the Mandalorian?
I just want you to know that.
I see. Okay. Well,
I thought about it. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong, Jacob. I thought about it. I thought about making a comment or something, but I didn't go through the door.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's dive into the Mandalorian, Chapter 13, titled "The Jedi." I just realized too, I've kind of forgotten about giving the summary. I started doing that before we actually dove in. I guess really, we're gonna walk through it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, the
But I
summary
didn't really think about
for
it.
Chapter 13.
Oh, you
Since
want to
I
give
can
it?
pull it
That's
up
fine.
right here.
Go ahead.
It says the Mandalorian journeys to a world ruled by a cruel magistrate who has made a powerful enemy.
Okay.
Facts.
Well, that's freaking vague, but it is definitely true.
Facts.
Uh-huh. All right. Let's get started. So, we open up and we see this kind of like a dark looking city. People in masks are kind of like walking around. They kind of look like off-brand Tusken Raiders, to be honest. But
sorry,
what?
I just had a thought. So you put a
Dude,
mark
we're not even,
sorry.
dude. 20
Sorry.
seconds. 20
Sorry.
seconds. All right. What?
No, I was just wondering because I know we do like
Oh.
a recap with Lord of the Rings.
It's more of a.
Do-
Oh, you want to? Well,
Are we wanting to do that with Mando?
I mean,
I don't remember if we have been or have not been.
I guess the last episode, we have been, but with this one, the last episode wasn't really essential to this episode. It's kind of those like one of those kind of like ones.
Okay, I guess the only thing to mention would be like, hey, Bo-Katan's
I think that
gonna
it-
go find Ahsoka. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Just an overall developing plot has been that Mando has been trying to get the child to his kind. We got that or the child's kind. Because we've gotten that from the armorer. That person, the guild person, had kind of given him his overall quest, his task to do.
Well, and I had just kind of thought of that because
and
like
then
I was playing the episode as I do, and it was doing the previously on the
Yeah,
Mandalorian.
yeah.
It showed like all the way back to season 1
I guess
when
when
we see
there's
the child lift up the mud horn and all that kind of stuff. So I was
Yeah,
like, do we normally
yeah.
do like a hey last time on type of thing for Mandalorian?
I think
don't
when
remember.
it's
It's been a while since we've done Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But when we, I think that when we cover an episode that the episode before, or at least there should be more of there's more important events that kind of come up, I guess, that are leading up to this.
Okay, I got
Maybe we should, I guess. So yeah, I mean overall that armorer or whatever the actual name is, the forge person. But gave Mando the quest, being like, these explained what the child was, needs to get to his kind. Then we had seen Bo-Katan. Mando helped her, and she ended up sending him towards Ahsoka Tano, who
Yeah. So I think
obviously
I
is
think what we
a
should
Jedi and
mention.
whatever. Or
I think
I
we should
guess,
just
but
mention as a kind of a reminder. Hey,
yes,
the armorer said to do this. He met with Bo-Katan, another Mandalorian, who directs him in this direction.
right. This has been his entire kind of quest for a while now.
Yeah.
Kind of what he's needing to do. That's what I'm recapping. But anyway, back to what's going on.
Sorry, that popped into my head right as I was, fast forwarding to the actual episode itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's fine. But anyway, so yeah, they kind of look like off-brand Tusken Raiders. They got masks. Almost kind of look like that bounty hunter thing that well, that's later on, but Leia dressed up as, when she got Han
yeah,
or whatever. Kind of look like those, but whatever. They're scouts, they're guards, whatever. And they're looking over this forest. And in this forest, it's very dark, kind of foggy, but we do see different little bursts of light indicating blaster fire, and then it ends up coming closer, and we do see blaster fire. But right off the bat, we then see some white lightsabers ignite and start fighting them off, and we meet Ayla Secura.
you go die in hell. You
I
just
am kidding.
take that pen that you have sitting there with you and jab it into your eyeball. And that is what you deserve for making that comment.
Okay. It's Ahsoka Tano, obviously.
So you can't do that to me, Jacob. Not with this character.
How come on, you like Ayla too? You're
Ayla
like
can
saying
go
how
jump off a cliff for all I care.
Yeah, but then again, isn't Ahsoka at this point too old for you?
No.
I thought you liked her in like season 1.
No comment.
All right, that's a little more
plead the
alarming
fifth.
than I thought you would probably respond to. But anyway, yeah, wastes absolutely no time. Like a minute into this episode, it's just like boom, Ahsoka, and thought that was pretty cool. But she is just slaughtering them. She's moving her way through all these scouts, these guards, kind of doing that kind of like, I don't know, like stealth mission kind of thing in an action movie. We're slowly just taking them out. They don't see her, but
Yeah, because I mean, it's
she's
like she deals
taking
with
them out
one
by
or two
one.
of them, and then like puts her lightsabers away to go into, like you said, like go to that stealth mode type style, and then moves up on one, takes them out, lightsabers back away. Moves up on another, lightsabers, takes them out, puts them away, like hardcore stealth mode, like yeah, just kicking butt, really, like as she always does.
Well, yeah. But then we go back to, we see the city. It's surrounded by a wall, and up on top of the wall, right above the gate, there is some more guards. There's a guy, and then there's this lady who, she kind of looks like, I want to say it's a skinny version of that fat chick from Mulan. If you've ever seen that movie, and it just the way she's kind of the facial expression and everything, I would say. Is pretty accurate, but she kind of announces over the forest there in front of them, more of a command. She says, "Show yourself, Jedi." And then Ahsoka steps kind of more into the light. We get a better look at her. Then it goes back to Mulan lady, and she has a spear in her hand. Says, "We've been expecting you." Ahsoka replies with, "Then you know what I want." The lady then replies, "You will learn nothing from me." Ahsoka says she won't give her a choice. And then this lady starts kind of almost like threatening her, because like I guess in the sense of like lives of people and whatever, she goes, how many lives is this knowledge that I possess worth to you? 1, and they pull out like a captive, kind of at like gunpoint. She goes 10, maybe 100. And then she points out that the lives of these citizens, because it kind of, I guess it hasn't been said here. She says the lives of the citizens mean nothing to her. And we learn here, kind of more so by inference, that this toadstool of a lady is holding a city captive, and she's just kind of willing to just dispose of them.
I just want to say,
yeah,
that the spear that this lady is holding
mm-hmm.
reminds me of the little Lego spears.
Oh my god, dude, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Like, I was just looking at it now, and I was thinking back when I used to play with Legos when I was younger, and it's just like, man.
Shut up, Evan. That was yesterday.
Hey.
But regardless, I mean, I can.
No.
Hey, there's no Evan. There is no judgment here because I have a whole tote of them upstairs, and I've been contemplating getting them down for like a month. So, no judgment. Just saying. But
no, it reminds me of
be
those
honest,
Lego
it
spears.
wasn't when
like
you were younger.
Like, if you ever got like the medieval Lego sets or some of the Star Wars Lego sets, it's like, that looks like a Lego spear. I'm sorry.
It does. No, you're 100% correct. It very much looks like one. But anyway, back to the episode. Ahsoka demands that she surrenders or she will face the consequences, then gives her 1 day to decide and leaves. And then Bumper Dump, which is what I'm going to start naming this lady because we haven't met what she actually is referred to, so I'm just going to name her Bumper Dump until we learn. Demands that the citizen be caged. And then we get the title card.
And so, with this episode, with seeing Ahsoka here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was and is a very big deal, especially when the episode first came out, because this is a little bit of a spoiler. The last time we see Ahsoka Tano is Star Wars Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have not gotten there in coverage for the podcast, but we are, for those that have watched it and have watched all of Star Wars, like the last time we saw her was Star Wars Rebels. And the last time we see her in Star Wars Rebels, it leaves us with okay, we know she's alive, but like, where is she gonna go? What is she gonna do? Like,
yeah.
And
so this
Star
is a
Wars
continuation of her story when really it's been, unknown. Kind of where she's even, I don't know.
Well, because it's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars Rebels takes place not. I'm trying to think. I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, it doesn't take place too long after Episode 3, after Revenge of the Sith. It doesn't take place much longer after that. Maybe 5 years.
Rebels? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. And you think, right, A New Hope takes place roughly 20 years after Revenge of the Sith. And from A New Hope to the end of Return of the Jedi, if I'm not mistaken, is about another 5 years.
Yeah.
Roughly. So we haven't seen Ahsoka for a good 20, 25 years in terms of, Star Wars timeline. And so this raises, all the questions of where has she been? What has she been doing? Has she maybe tried to start another Jedi Order? Has she been off on her own? Did she become a bounty hunter? Like, all these questions are up in the air now that we have not really gotten any answers to.
Also, I know that this is like 100% just kind of not, it's theory and whatever. But I would really like it if they connected in Jedi Fallen Order into this timeline. Like where she's been, like it'd be really cool if whatever. But
yeah. Well, and I mean,
but yeah, so
it's also because like if you go from, because we had this first time when we went from the Clone Wars TV show to when they finally started released Star Wars Rebels. It was about a 5-year time gap, and again it was the whole, what has Ahsoka been doing between the Clone Wars and now? Where has she been? Like, what's going on? And then you do get some answers in Rebels for that time period, for that time jump. But this one is much more significant of a time jump, obviously, and it raises a lot more questions. But and for those that don't know, Ahsoka Tano is one of my most favorite characters in Star Wars. I would say she ranks right at about 4, between 3 and 4, honestly, out of all the different characters in all of Star Wars.
Who beat her for the places.
Um, so,
Obviously, Obi-Wan,
well, I mean, yeah, Obi-Wan is number one.
but who would you say the other one is?
Number two,
Hmm.
is, and you and I have talked about this, like the clone troopers, just in general, like.
Oh, just okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's
love the
where I
clone
was.
troopers and that whole
Yeah,
concept and stuff.
and that's where I was a
And
little confused because I was thinking one character, and I knew that you really liked the clones, so I thought maybe one of them, but I did. Yeah, so I was just kind of
yeah, and
yeah, but
Mace Windu is another one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. And so like honestly, it depends. If I'm watching the Clone Wars, like Ahsoka becomes number 3. If I'm watching just the movies like 1, 2, and 3, then like Mace Windu takes that third place. It kind of those two kind of shift back and forth.
hmm,
Um, just depending on what I'm watching at the time.
hmm.
But like with her being one of my favorite characters of all of Star Wars, like I got super excited
Yeah, you
and
were
was
freaking
super
out
hyped
probably.
and like
Oh, actually, I remember talking to you after we watched this for the first time, and yeah, you were hyped.
yeah, and it was just like this is super dope and I love it.
Yeah. Well, so we got the title card. Now we open a new scene. Comes zooming in is the Razor Crest. Mando is flying, and the child is just kind of chilling.
As a
And they
child does.
are, well, and as they do that, they are arriving on Corvus, which is the planet that we were just at, the one that Bo-Katan has directed Mando to. Um, the child is just kind of eyeing that little ball on the throttle thing, if you remember that. He's eyeing that and just then is told to get back in his seat because they're going to land and he needs to stay there. Um, but the child keeps staring at that ball and kind of as he's in his chair now, he uses the force to start like twisting it off of it very like subtly because he wants it. But then Mando arrives they arrive on Corvus and lands in the forest after they kind of pass over that city. Or a city, I guess. I don't know if it's the same one. I think it is, though. Then, as he exits the Razor Crest, we see a mega blurg. I don't know what they actually are, but it's a very, it's a larger life form, like, another piece of the wildlife we see. But basically looks like a very tall blurg. Evan, do you know anything about what this one is? Like, is there any name to it?
I'm honestly not sure. We really don't get a good picture of it to really be able to tell.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was explored anywhere else.
Not to my knowledge.
So,
For all I know, that could be a bantha with really long legs.
all right.
I mean, we really just don't get a very good visual of it
Yeah.
here in the episode to really be able to
Yeah.
even try and come up with an idea of what they would be.
I see. Okay. Well, anyway, so Mando steps off the Razor Crest, and the child follows, and he's holding that little ball. Mando tells him to leave it alone, says that it belongs on the ship, and kind of takes it from him. They start heading into town, and they're looking for any leads, because like we said, they're searching for the Jedi. They approach the city, and it's the one that we saw before the title card. The man that stood beside Bumper Dump must be like a captain or general or something. He comments that Mando's armor is very nice, asks if he's a hunter, asks if he's with the guild. Mando says, last I checked. So Slurper Derp is what I'm going to call this guy because we don't get a name for him yet. And I don't know, I'm in a weird mood when I was writing this especially, so I just started coming up with random names. We got Bumper
Yeah.
Dump and Slurper Derp, but
I would assume though he's just some sort of captain of the guard type of thing,
Yeah, kind of seems
I
that
mean,
way.
he's kind of just like giving orders to the other guards, but I would not think just a town like this would have like much of a military, more of like just
That's
like
true.
a town watch type
So it'd be
thing.
probably more of a captain than a general.
Yeah, I mean, unless
Yeah.
these are all like mercenaries or like
Yeah.
some sort of war band or like gang or something like that, but which I could definitely see just kind of the few hints that we've gotten. This early into the episode.
Hmm. Well, Mando is let in, and he comes in and he starts walking along the streets. He approaches a vendor and tries to ask about the Jedi. He starts to. He says, "Hey, you," kind of thing, and they just kind of walk off. And then he approaches someone else, but they ask him not to speak to them or anyone. And as he's talking to them, the guards kind of come in behind him, kind of indicating it's like obviously under heavy control. Like these, civilians are basically probably going to be beaten if they speak to any outsider, if they do anything that's slightly out of line when the line itself is so very thin.
Well, I mean, the guards approach and say that the magistrate wants to talk to him. And as Mando starts making his way to the palace, or I guess the mayor's house, whatever you want to call it,
Magistrate.
he passes by some prisoners that are held in what seems to be a futuristic cross of some sorts.
It kind of does seem that way, where they're kind of like balanced on this little peg, and if they move even so slightly, they get shocked.
Well, because the way the cross worked back in like ancient Rome and whatnot was like you had obviously your hands nailed to the sides, and you had your feet bound, but you essentially had to stand on your toes, on a little platform at the bottom. Otherwise, somehow, some way, the way it worked, like if you were to stand normal, it'd actually start to suffocate you. And so this is kind of like a similar thing. Instead of having like their hands nailed to the sides, it's like they're stuck on their standing there, and if they lean left or right, they get shocked instead of being suffocated.
Yeah.
That was just kind of the thought that popped into my mind when I saw it. And one or two of them asked for him to save them. One prisoner says she'll kill us all. And it just kind of adds to the whole, like, this might be some sort of, like, dictator type of person in charge of this town.
But Mando enters into the compound, and, like, the city itself was pretty poor looking. And obviously everybody's miserable. They're all under severe, like, control and torture, basically. But he enters into the compound, and inside, it's, like, just beautiful. There's these ponds, there's some trees. It kind of looks honestly, it kind of looks like an Asian garden. And I've never really seen an Asian garden, but I imagine that there's koi in there.
It's as beautiful as it can look on a planet that's covered by, like,
brown
fog.
It's like you compare it to stinking. I can't even think of what I'm blanking on another place, but it's pretty. I guess it's pretty in comparison, especially. I guess maybe that's what drives it to seem so beautiful, but it is pretty nice looking,
Yeah, as nice as it can be at that time.
Well, because you look outside. And I guess this is being comparative, but it's like you look outside and all the trees look dead and everything. The streets are like, dirt. And then you go in there and there's like, it's like they're, I don't know, it's nicer. But anyway, so the magistrate is in there, and she says that she has a proposition for Mando. He says his price is high. She says the target is priceless. A Jedi plagues her, and she wishes Mando to kill the Jedi. They talk a little bit, and he reiterates that his price is high. A droid gives her the spear that she was holding in the beginning, the Lego spear. She says, "What do you make of this?" It is. Spear. It's 100%. It's a Lego spear. But anyway, she says, "What do you make of this?" He approaches her and kind of takes a look. He says that it's Beskar, and she affirms that it is pure Beskar. Pure plastic Lego. And this is what, but this is what she is offering as payment. And judging by how, high a value his armor has, which is also pure Beskar.
So that's the thing, though, that I wanted to bring up.
What's up? Oh, what's that?
So Mando's armor is not pure Beskar.
It's not pure Beskar?
No.
Okay.
And that's why when he gets hit, like with a blast or something like that, that's why he feels it.
No.
That's why he gets knocked back when he gets hit. He feels the hit itself, but it obviously doesn't kill him because his armor is protecting him. But his armor itself is not pure Beskar. There is a mix of some other material in there.
Hmm.
Whereas if his armor was pure Beskar, it would almost act along similar lines of vibranium from the Marvel
Oh yeah,
universe,
yeah. So where
to
it
where
just
like
absorbs it all.
the Force might knock him back, but he's not gonna feel it. He's not gonna hurt when he gets hit. Whereas
Hmm.
with the spear being pure Beskar, the value of it just goes up like so much higher. It's basically like um, I want to say worthless because I can't think of the right term, but basically
Priceless.
worthless on like priceless. Thank you.
Yeah,
It,
worthless is the opposite direction.
yeah, and I was basically gonna say worthless on the good end because I couldn't, for whatever reason, I couldn't think of
Oh,
priceless.
I gotcha.
But it's essentially priceless because I mean, the odds of, from my understanding and whatnot of the Star Wars lore and all that, the odds of finding pure Beskar, especially in this quantity that with this spear,
Mm-hmm.
is like it's not going to happen again in Mando's lifetime.
Hmm.
Type of deal. It's that rare to find pure, Beskar without any other sort of mineral or
Yeah.
metal or anything like that,
Yeah.
and like in with it.
Hmm.
And so where Mando's armor is mostly Beskar, you could argue 95% Beskar, there is still that little bit of other material in there.
Yeah. Missy.
And so that's why, I mean, part of it, I think if you took any other Mandalorian besides Mando, or almost any other Mandalorian besides Mando,
Mm-hmm.
and as we find out in this episode, he's kind of like, yeah, I'll go, where do I find her? I'll go take care of her for you. And as we find out later in the episode, he doesn't actually like go for it. But like any other Mandalorian would be like, sorry, Jedi, you're dead. I need that.
Mm-hmm.
Type of thing. Or really any bounty hunter
Yeah.
would be like, yeah, I'm killing her. I don't care what I needed her for.
Hmm.
I'm killing her because that is so rare and it's extremely priceless,
Yeah. But yeah. So he determines that, or she affirms that it's pure Beskar, and then she says this is what she's offering as payment, and he asks where he can find the Jedi. Then we cut ahead, and Slurper and Mando look out onto the forest. Slurper asks what the child is because it makes some noises, and Mando says he keeps it around for luck. And then Slurp goes, well, you're going to need it where you're headed. So Mando searches around the forest. He uses his heat vision kind of tech. We've seen it when he was trailing initially Cara Dune, because when he was following her outside, he was kind of using it to, I want to say, to see her footprints,
Yeah, and I'll just say,
and,
too,
mm-hmm.
that I think it's important to point out that Mando never actually agrees to kill her.
No, he doesn't. He's just
He
like...
just says, where do I find her?
Right. He never agrees to it. He's just kind of like, well, where do I find her? Kind of indicating it, but misleading.
It's kind of like that, she thinks that he's agreed to it, but in truth, all he's asking is where she is. Like, he hasn't said, yeah, I'll take the contract, and say, okay, yes, like, let's do this, that's a deal. None of that type of stuff. It's like, well, where's she at? And just lets the chick imply the rest.
Right. But he then hears something and sets the child down so he can look. He kind of looks, zooms in and sees some more of those creatures, doesn't really see anything else around, and he's like, all right, it's just a false alarm. But then Ahsoka jumps down on him. They fight a little. We do see that as she's throwing, like, slashing her lightsabers at him, his Beskar, even though it's not pure, it is, blocking it. Can a lightsaber break Beskar and melt it eventually?
Yes. And so the main reason Mandalorians adopted Beskar in the first place was during the Mandalorian Jedi War. And we're talking back in the Old Republic time period, so a minimum 2,000 years ago, at a minimum. But there was this huge war between the Mandalorians and the Jedi per disagreements and whatnot. And so the Mandalorians started using Beskar to help protect against lightsaber blades.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the Beskar can be eventually, destroyed by a lightsaber, because it's just like when we've seen the armor rework the Beskar to make Mando his armor.
Mm-hmm.
You apply enough heat to it, it's gonna melt
Yeah.
down, type of
It's
thing.
just
But
it's got a
it would,
high melting point
yeah, it would take Ahsoka holding that lightsaber against the Beskar for,
for a while.
I mean, a minute does not sound like that long, but in terms of a fight, a minute is a long time. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
so
true.
I don't know if a minute is accurate for the actual melting of the Beskar, but
But regardless, she would have to hold it there for a while before it melts through.
yeah, and I mean, for her to
So,
hold, if she were to hold it there that long, anyways, it's not Mando wouldn't just stand there and be like, "Oh
no.
no, my arm," you know,
Yeah.
type of thing. Like she wouldn't be able to hold it there that long,
Right.
type of thing, without him doing something to try and stop her.
Yeah. But as they're fighting, they kind of get to a point where he shouts. He says, "Ahsoka Tano," um, and then they kind of like she kind of pauses and is like looking at him, and he draws his gun, kind of like they're at it. I mean, they're on at a bit of a standoff, and he says, "Bo-Katan sent me. We need to talk." And so then she kind of lowers her guard a little bit and looks over and sees the child, and she goes, "Well, I hope it's about him." And we just see
Yeah,
the child just kind of chilling, watching him, and
and I mean, with at this point too, with Ahsoka's, the look on her face, and whatnot, like she recognizes him,
mhm.
and it's unclear whether she recognizes the child specifically or whether she recognizes his race being, the same race as Yoda.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that as we go on, I'm for sure getting the impression that she just recognizes his kind. Just something because like as we move along, I'll explain it here in a minute,
and
here in a bit, but um, but Ahsoka approaches the child and looks at him a little bit more. We then cut ahead to another scene where Ahsoka and the child are sitting around a little lamp. Mando's just kind of a good distance away, just pacing back and forth, kind of, I want to say probably keeping watch. But Ahsoka and the child are looking at one another, and they're not saying anything, but it does appear that they are communicating. Um, she then picks him up, and the child, obviously, and walks to another place. Mando walks over and meets with them. Mando asks if the child is speaking and if she can understand him. She replies with, "In a way, Grogu and I can feel each other's thoughts." Mando asks, he's like, "Grogu?" And the child kind of goes like, "Eh?" and like looks up at him. And she says that that's the child's name. Um, Mando says it again, and the child does the same thing, like, "Huh, what?" and looks up. And so it's like, he's got that, he hears his name and he recognizes it and is like,
yeah,
responding. And so, yeah, that's the child's name, Grogu. Um, then, hold on, I got a text. Oh, gosh dang it. So, where is it? Yeah, so the child is, yeah, we learn his name. Ahsoka gives a bit of Grogu's backstory now, though. She does say, and this is what you were referring to. We do learn this here. She says that he was raised in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Many Jedi Masters trained him, and at the end of the Clone Wars, when the Empire rose to power, he was hidden. Someone took him from the temple, and then his memory becomes dark. He seemed lost, alone. Ahsoka says that she's only known one other being like Grogu, a wise Jedi Master named Yoda. Um, she asks him if he can still wield the Force. Mando says he has powers. Ahsoka says that the Force is not a power, it's an energy field created by all living beings. To wield it takes a lot of training and discipline. Mando says that his task has been to bring the child to the Jedi. Ahsoka replies with, "The Jedi Order fell a long time ago," basically being like, not probably not me. Um,
yeah, and this was the point where I kind of wanted to
but really quick,
reference.
just because it's a follow up to what she
Yeah,
just said, she said the Jedi Order fell a long time ago. Mando replies with, "So did the Empire, yet it still hunts him." So they let Grogu sleep. Um, I just wanted to get to that because that's probably a good
yeah.
pause point. But go
Um,
ahead.
And that's what I was kind of saying. Like, it's not 100% clear whether or not Ahsoka is recognizing, as we have his name now, Grogu. You
Hmm.
know, it's not clear whether she's recognizing him specifically, or if
Yeah.
she's just recognizing his race because of Master Yoda.
Yeah,
Because
but
as she
I
said,
mean,
he was in the Jedi Temple. And,
hmm,
towards the end of the Clone Wars and the Rise of the Empire, someone took him. And, obviously with Ahsoka being a Jedi, um, at some point she was at the temple. So it's never really specified whether or not she saw or even interacted with Grogu in the temple. It's kind of a mystery of who she's recognizing when she looks
yeah,
at him the first time.
I suppose, but like looking at just their exchange right here, I feel like I'm leaning towards she's never seen him before, but she recognizes the kind because of Yoda, and she's just like, oh, who, what? Because then when she's like communicating with him, she, explains his backstory. However, looking at the timeline of things, I mean, it's possible, you know.
Yeah.
I would say
And
just based on their interaction, I'm leaning towards she's just seeing the species that he is, but looking at the like really the potential of it, it's like it could be the other way, but I'm still leaning towards that
yeah,
she's
I
just
think I'm
learning
kind of
this.
right in the middle there, just because, like, she could have seen him in the Jedi Temple but never
Yeah,
interacted with him, never been given his name, And so, like, and as we found out, like, the first or second episode of season 1 of The Mandalorian, Grogu is 50 years old.
right.
So, I mean,
Yeah, dang. Actually, thinking back too, I mean, you said basically from the end of Revenge of the Sith until now, how long has probably about 25, 30 years, didn't you
you're looking
say?
about 25 to 30 years, yeah.
And I guess that's, generally, and as we see throughout the Clone Wars a little bit, when they adopt force sensitive children, it's like, I mean, they've grown a little bit. So I guess I don't know when that would be for Grogu, because obviously his, you know, developmental stages are
Yeah.
very long.
Well,
But I guess, there is a good chunk of time he could have been at the Jedi Temple that's,
yeah,
spanning back. That's, yeah, I mean,
and so I mean Ahsoka, right? For a little bit of a time reference, at the end of season 7 of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka is roughly 18 years old, 18 to
yeah,
20,
though you liked her way
right?
before then. Uh-huh.
Well, that's not the point. Um, but Ahsoka is roughly 18 to 20 years old, and so we hit this point. She is honestly 40 to 45 years old at this
Yeah.
point in time. And I mean, when we meet Grogu, he's 50. Grogu's older than Ahsoka is,
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean,
Yeah.
by the time Ahsoka, comes to the Jedi Temple, Grogu is honestly anywhere from 5 to 10 years old when Ahsoka gets to the temple,
Right, but that's where I
for
was
her
like
training.
saying, that's where I was saying like, oh shoot. Well, I mean, that's
And
where
so
it
I
just, I
think,
guess, depends on where, Grogu is development. Like when they got him into the Jedi Temple, because it's obviously, it's when they're younger, maybe 6 or 7,
yeah,
you know,
mm,
ish, probably younger, when they usually grab Padawans. But like with his developmental stages, it's like, well, a normal, like a human's 6 or 7 is his probably, honestly, anywhere from 20 onward. Because I mean, obviously he's able to walk and he's able to use the Force right now, so he's had some training, I
yeah, and
guess.
so that was my thing. So if Grogu was, we'll take the low end. If Grogu was 5 when Ahsoka
Hmm.
comes to the temple and starts her training, it wouldn't surprise me if the two of them were in the same, essentially the same class for a little bit for training wise. And, as well, I mean, honestly, even if Grogu was 10 when Ahsoka first came to the temple, it still
Hmm.
wouldn't surprise me if they were, some of the same lessons for, like, that very beginner's training to become a Jedi. And so that's where it kind of puts me in the middle of whether or not, the two of them knew each other before. Because it's like, it's 100% possible. but it is also 100% possible that she has never met him before because of the slow
Yeah.
development of his race, Um, and so it's just like I think that's kind of just left up to the viewers of whether they what they want to believe, whether Ahsoka and Grogu know each other or not.
Yeah, I would say it's open for interpretation at this point, Maybe they'll fill in the gap later on, but,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but anyway, really quick, since we're right at, I mean, I'm midway between in my notes right now. Um, so I think right now is a good point for a sponsor break. So really quick, here's a word from our only sponsor and all that. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, so we learned that about Grogu. Kind of learned a bit of his backstory, a little bit. Um, then yeah, Mando says the Empire fell, yet it still hunts him. Grogu sleeps. In the morning, uh, Ahsoka is testing Grogu to see, how, I guess, far along in his training he is, really. I think that's pretty well what she's doing.
Yeah.
Kind of gauging where he's at so that, she knows how to handle things. Um, but she picks up a rock and uses the Force to pass it over to Grogu, and he catches it. She then asks for him to pass it back to her, and he just kind of drops it, but almost forces it, like chucks it on the ground. Not force chucks it, but with force physically chucks it on the ground. I don't know. But he's just kind of like, meh, and kind of looks sad sitting there. But Ahsoka walks over and holds his hand, says that she senses much fear. She says he's hidden his abilities to survive. Kind of translating to he's a bit rusty, I think, and kind of
Yeah.
not exactly eager to use them unless
Well,
he
and I
needs
mean,
to.
I would say even too, the few times we've seen him use the Force,
Mm,
like it's worn him out. Like it took a lot
yeah.
just for Grogu to use the Force in general, especially with even the little bit of backstory we have now gotten on him. Because I mean, basically, what we know about the Force through prior movies and TV shows and stuff
Hmm.
is that a lot of the times the Force comes from your state of mind. So if
It's.
you're in balance and you're good with where you're
Hmm.
at, like you're gonna use it as a Jedi just fine. But if you're afraid, if you're fearful, as you're using the Force, that fear and anger or what have you starts to come out more.
Right, but also, and obviously
And so I'm
that's
sure to
that's
someone
a.
like Grogu, who's in that very early developmental stage, like
Hmm.
that probably terrifies him feeling that.
Well, I would say partially that, but also I would say that the Force is kind of like a muscle that you work and grow stronger in.
Yeah.
And with that being so early, it's like, yeah, all the emotions and the headspace and all that stuff, but also just the muscle itself is, though he can, I guess overwork it in a way. It's like he were to, like with the Mudhorn, he lifts the thing up. So obviously it's strong in him, but he overexerts himself in doing so and just passes out after.
Yeah, and
So I'd say
I
it's
definitely
also a muscle.
I definitely agree with that. I would definitely say though too part of it is
Oh,
definitely that, but part of it is also that mindset, 'cause especially with
yeah.
how old, developmentally wise, how old Grogu is.
Hmm.
Because I'd say he's what, maybe 2 in a
I
normal
mean,
human's,
yeah,
age.
probably, maybe even young. Probably two.
Because like
Yeah,
Grogu's not even able to talk at this point.
right.
So I guess 2 might even be a little too old,
Maybe. I don't know.
for a
He's
comparison.
developmentally, he's a baby.
Yeah, and so
You know.
like part of it definitely is like he overexerts himself the few times that we've seen him use the Force.
Hmm.
But I think it should definitely be um, like stressed that part of it is most likely part of it is still like he's essentially, I would say, maybe 1 to 2 years old compared to a human.
Yeah.
And
There's.
especially at that age, like if something scares you at that age, like it terrifies you.
Yeah. So there's a
You
lot of
know,
elements to this. Obviously, it's
and so I'm sure
his.
part of it
Yeah.
is he's hesitant because of that overexertion, but part of it is definitely he's hesitant because of
Well,
that
no.
mindset, especially
Okay.
on the backstory that we've gotten on him being in the Jedi Temple during the Clone Wars, and when Order
Yeah.
66 goes down, and seeing that,
So
I'm
I
sure did a number on.
with the muscle part, I was more so addressing why he gets tuckered out so easily. I guess you were more so, and I was kind of on the wrong. I was on the wrong track. Okay. He I see that you were kind of more so addressing that, why he was hesitant in doing so.
Yeah,
And I would 100% agree with you, what you were saying. No real like, well, but look at it this way. No, like you were like, yeah, no, I get you now.
yeah, and
Um,
I'm honestly, I'm sure on the mentality of being hesitant to use it too. Like, if you overexert yourself doing any sort of like lift, even if it's lifting weights or like going on a run, it's like, okay, I should probably maybe lift a little less or not run quite as far. Like, let's take a step back and reevaluate
yeah,
how I did said activity.
let's take a
You
step
know.
back. I overexerted myself. My stomach is poking out of my anus. It's not a good thing. I
Well, I
need,
mean,
yeah. Um, I'm gonna jot down the
but
time. I
I'm
don't know if
sure
that's a
with
blooper, but
these few times we've seen him use the Force with him overexerting himself, I'm sure that also plays into the maybe because like with Grogu communicating with Ahsoka, we do see a little more of like a I don't want to say maturity. I don't think that's the right word, but maybe a little more of a I don't know wisdom to him. I guess I don't know if that's the right word or like I don't know what word I'm trying to think of, but it's like he has enough. He's developed enough to be able to remember all the way back to like when the Jedi were still a
yeah,
thing with the Clone Wars and whatnot.
he's not
And
just
so
this
like
little like baby who's just kind of like, I'm
yeah,
along for the ride,
he's not completely helpless.
No, he's
And so
just not able to communicate, really.
yeah, he's got enough. I would say he's able to understand what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's able to understand his feelings, his emotions to an extent. You know,
Yeah.
and so like with that, well, last time I did this, I freaking passed out for 3 days. I probably should not do it again, or if I
Mm-hmm.
do it, I should probably do it nowhere close to as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I feel like that feels very scary when I do that. So maybe let's just go with not at all. Hey Ahsoka, you pushed this rock over to me. Yeah, go screw yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm sure part of it is like a self. He's kind of like defeating himself mentally before even attempting to do it. Is essentially what I'm getting.
Yeah. Um, but
But
anyway,
Ahsoka
so
does come back up to him to try and console him and like
yeah.
kind of understand his hesitations.
Mm-hmm. But where is it? Where are we? If you can't tell, I'm messing with my Zippo again. Um, yeah,
Ahsoka's
he's
telling
right.
Mando.
Ahsoka has Mando come over and try the exercise with Grogu. Um, Mando asks Grogu to lift the stone out of his hand with the Force. Ahsoka asks Mando to try and connect with him, be like, build off of that connection you guys have. Try to use that, really instead. Um, uh, Meanwhile, by the way, when this is happening, so when I take my notes, I have the episode on one screen on one of my monitors, and then I have, Word document on my main one. And so I'm just watching, typing, taking notes, making pausing if I need to, but mostly just like as it's going, taking notes. And I was taking notes while this happened, and I could not stop laughing. Like I had to pause it. I was just like, laughing so hard because, in this moment, Grogu is just kind of chilling there. And when Ahsoka's asking Mando to try to connect with him, Grogu makes a sound that without seeing the show, I thought he his pants. Like it sounded like just or something, like to where it was like, I think he just pooped himself. And I just couldn't stop laughing. And especially at the thought of that happening. Like they're trying to train him and he just poops.
Oh.
But anyway. So Mando tries to connect with Grogu by using, he reaches into a pouch or a pocket or whatever and pulls out that little throttle ball that he likes and kind of encourages him to take it. Grogu kind of like, he looks at it, he tries to grab it, and he does. He uses the Force to get the thing over to him. And Mando just kind of jumps up like, yeah, he's like super happy for him. But then Ahsoka says that Grogu has formed a great attachment to Mando, and therefore she cannot train him. Mando isn't very happy about this. He's like, what? Why not? Like, what the heck what do you mean? And she says because he's vulnerable with emotion. He's got a severe, heavy attachment to Mando. With that, there's a lot of emotion involved, and she's seen what such feelings can do to a fully trained Jedi Knight, Anakin, to the best of them. She doesn't want to start the child down that path. And I think that in her saying this, she's kind of, I feel like, speaking from hurt, because of who she's referring to. Her old master, Anakin. Obviously, we know the story of him.
Yeah.
And I feel like she is kind of coming from that place, like, I'm avoiding that crap. Like,
yeah, definitely.
And she's like, she says it's better off to just let this power, let it die, let it fade away.
Well, and I mean, I agree that's definitely where she's coming from. And we see something similar, honestly, in Episode 1, in The Phantom Menace. When Anakin first gets brought to the Jedi Temple, and he's standing there in front of, Yoda and Mace Windu and all the Jedi Masters. And, they're all talking about, like, they can sense the fear in Anakin. He dwells on his mother, who obviously he would have formed an attachment to. And all that kind of stuff. And even at that point, at the height of the Jedi's power, they were very hesitant to take on an apprentice.
Yeah.
For number one, being that old. For Anakin being 10 years old, that was way older than when they would take apprentices within the Jedi Order. And so Ahsoka, who never reached the rank of Knight, let alone Jedi Master, for her to take on an apprentice just in general would be a struggle. But for her to take on an apprentice who has such a strong attachment to someone, that's just her throwing an extra sandbag on the load, essentially, it's just going to make it that much harder for her to really try and train him. And as you said, I think she's very hesitant and very fearful to even attempt to do so, with seeing how how it went with Anakin.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wanted to mention too is, because I was going to mention that attachment between Mando and Grogu, because as we saw when Ahsoka tried to get Grogu to send the rock back to her, he didn't do it. But when Mando was like, "Come on, you can do it," I definitely think it's that whole attachment thing. And I was gonna say it along the lines of, like, Grogu needs to be with someone he's familiar with, someone that he's comfortable with, where he can show this power, because he's had to hide it for so long because of the repercussions if he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, for those that have played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, with that game, at the very beginning we see, the main character doesn't use the Force at all, and it took a lot. It took one of his friends losing his life for him to actually start using the Force again. Because especially at that time, they knew the repercussions of using it. That just meant they were going to die.
Yeah.
And it's all about that suppression, and you have to, and I'm sure for a lot of the Jedi that survived, Order 66 and the Jedi Purge and all that, it required them to be with someone that they knew was not going to rat them out, that they trusted wholeheartedly 100% for them to even consider using the Force. And I would say Grogu's probably along a similar mindset.
Probably. I mean, well, she said that he's concealed it to survive, and it's kind of the same way, because it's like, if you're wielding the Force left and right, it's like those who are hunting you are going to be like, hey, something's up, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that was for sure seen in Fallen Order.
Something just doesn't belong here.
um, but anyway, so she explains that why she can't really do that. Um, as she is kind of turning away, like, I'm sorry, Mando says that the magistrate sent him to kill her. And then he comments and he's like, I didn't agree to anything, but he offers help to her if she sees to it that Grogu is properly trained. He offers some intel about the city and asks who the magistrate is. Ahsoka
And so,
replies, go ahead.
because I kind of made a connection here,
Oh.
to earlier in the episode when the magistrate was like, "Hey, go kill this Jedi for me,"
Mm-hmm.
and Mando is just like, "Where is she at?"
Yeah.
Again, Ahsoka doesn't say, "Okay, I'll train you," or "I'll train him." It was all about the
Yeah.
wording of the way Mando said it. Mando said, "If you see to it that he's trained, not that you train him."
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure when she was like, essentially like, "Okay, deal."
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's all about the wording. It's okay. He said, as long as I see to it that he gets training, not that I train him. As long as I give him help to make sure Grogu gets trained in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just kind of made that connection of the play on words, the not actually agreeing to what they think you're agreeing to.
Yeah.
You know.
But he offers some intel about the city and asks who the magistrate is. Ahsoka replies that she is Morgan Elsbeth. Apparently her people were massacred, and then fueled by anger, and this is me summarizing, fueled by anger, she plundered worlds, destroying them. There's a bit more to it regarding the Empire and some other stuff and whatever, but that's essentially kind of her kind of thing, her backstory in a way. He replies with, looks like she's still in business. Mando informs Ahsoka about the prisoners, and they team up. Ahsoka wants Mando to free the prisoners. That's kind of what she has had his mission be, or whatever. She kind of is like directing him towards that.
Yeah, and so one thing that I did see here with the
Mm-hmm.
magistrate, part of her thing was essentially helping with the ships, building and operating the ships during the Empire, like the Star Destroyers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That she is still in business to an extent. So essentially, I would say she's more or less an arms dealer
Yeah,
at this point with the Empire have fallen.
suppose so, yeah.
More or less probably an arms dealer of some sorts, whether it be actual blasters or trying to acquire ships or anything like that.
Okay. But Ahsoka comes running up the gate. They kind of, they make their attack on the city. She comes running up the gate. The guards start sounding the bells, alarming everyone. She fights the guards and makes her way into the city while slicing the bell in half and some other stuff. Slurpaderp stands awaiting, and the magistrate then appears coming out of her compound. Ahsoka kind of makes her way to the end of this road that's like all the way down the road from them, and then she comes walking down it.
Essentially
Towards
Main
them.
Street for this town.
Yeah, yep. Ahsoka tosses Mando's shoulder piece on the ground and says, "Your bounty hunter failed." She demands information, asking where is Magistrate's master. The magistrate orders her guards to kill Ahsoka, and Slurpaderp says, "Would love to." Magistrate orders the execution of the prisoners that are, near her compound, and then I think she says then start going like house to house. Mando comes in and kills the guards, pairing up with that one civilian who said not to talk to them, and then starts freeing the prisoners. Meanwhile, Ahsoka picks off the other guards in a series of suspenseful stealth shots. Once again, she's very stealthy, going through, picking them off one by one. Slurpaderp runs off after an encounter with Ahsoka and stands off against Mando. And meanwhile, Ahsoka enters the compound. Ahsoka approaches the magistrate, who has that spear, and they fight in kind of like a surprisingly professional way. It's kind of like, if you see, I don't know, I feel like there's like I don't know if you see like people fencing or something, there's like stance to it, that's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to properly describe that, but like
Well, honestly, it kind of gives off a little bit of like a Wild West, standoff, as well as like
it does
some sort of like ceremonial, like Japanese sort of,
kind of, yeah.
you know, I don't know what the right word is, like I don't know, like a trial by combat type of thing,
Kind of.
like a one-on-one, you know,
Yeah.
as you said, like very formal.
Yeah, it's kind of like, one of them strikes, the other one just deflects it in a very precise and like, way. And it's not like they just start lashing at each other, right? It's like strike, counterattack, and then they back off and assess one another again, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so Mando and Slurpaderp just kind of stand out there and hear the fight going on. Slurp goes, "Who do you think's gonna win?" And then kind of points out, he's like, "Could be any side, really." And he starts like slowly walking towards Mando. Meanwhile, Ahsoka and Magistrate continue to fight. Slurp continues walking towards Mando. It's kind of going back and forth between scenes. The closed captions, by the way, I started doing it where I make up a name if we have not been introduced to a character yet. So that's why I've been calling him Slurpaderp. He also kind of looks like a Slurpy dude. But and I don't know what that means, so I don't know, don't ask.
Yeah, I'm really confused with what you're
But
going at there, Jake.
it just sounded funny to me, honestly. Slurpaderp. That just sounds funny. And so I just named him that. But regardless, the closed captions refer to him as Lang. So we kind of get a name, but never really said. It's just in the, captions. But Lang says, "I have no quarrel with you, Mandalorian." And Mando says, "That's far enough." Basically like, "Stop walking towards me, dude." Ahsoka and Magistrate continue to fight. Ahsoka loses one of her lightsabers into the water. Lang continues to say, "You and I are a lot alike, willing to lay down our lives for the right cause." And I think he even comments like, "This is not it," or something like that. Like, this isn't the right cause, or something. I don't know. But Ahsoka disarms the Magistrate and holds her lightsaber close to her, like close to her head. Cut back to Lang, who tells Mando, like as we hear the things, kind of simmer down inside, he says, "Looks like you win." Then Lang sets down his weapon in a very suspicious way, kind of like very unpredictable, kind of, but obviously like trying to be unpredictable. I don't know. But he tries to pull a different gun that he had like around back, and Mando just quick draw shoots him. The civilians then come out and warn Mando quickly of a droid behind him, to which Mando just spins around and quick draws that sucker too. Just domes him. Ahsoka demands that the Magistrate tell her where her master is, and she finally, we understand kind of, and I know I haven't seen Rebels. Obviously, I know that. You know that I haven't seen Rebels yet. So maybe you can give a little bit of insight, but she asks, "Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" So that's who she's searching for. What is the significance of this?
So throughout the Empire, the reign of the Empire, Grand Admiral Thrawn was actually Emperor Palpatine's like top admiral in the entire Imperial Navy. And per, I think it's Legends now. Per Legends, after the fall of the Empire, Grand Admiral Thrawn actually basically makes his own faction out of his Imperial forces that he has with him at the time. But with Rebels coming out, we first get introduced to Thrawn, like, besides comics, we get introduced to him in Rebels. And without spoiling the end of Rebels, significant events happen to where between Ahsoka and Thrawn and one of Ahsoka's friends, and now Ahsoka is trying to find Thrawn for answers. Without spoiling the end of Rebels, because those events, the reason she wants to know where he is at, are specifically at the end of Rebels.
Gotcha.
Like the last.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It's like the second half of the last season of Rebels, essentially.
Gotcha. I didn't know that it would play into a significant part of, of Rebels. So I was kind of
Yeah,
wondering a little bit
it's
about him, but if it's like
so.
if her
I'll just say,
motivations is riddled with spoilers, then I guess never mind. But I get the
yeah, and so
general
I'll just say
picture.
like the second 2 seasons of Star Wars Rebels, like Admiral Thrawn is like the big bad,
Mm,
essentially.
big Chungus.
For like the second, I believe it's the second 2 seasons. It's been a while since I've seen the show. But like he's like the big bad of like the second half of the
Gotcha.
whole show.
Okay.
So I really can't say a whole lot
Yeah.
without spoiling it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But whenever we actually get to Rebels, like you guys will see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, okay. Thank you for that. We then cut to Mando and Ahsoka walking out of the city. The citizens, God bless America. So, if you guys want any further motivation to go join our Discord and see the notes that I write, you'll see all the typos. I misspelled citizens, but regardless, the citizens are happy and even appointing that one civilian, the "Don't Talk to Us" one, that kind of seems to be the prominent civilian face for that place. It appears that they are appointing him their new leader. Or yeah, I think that's probably what's going on. But Ahsoka gives Mando that Beskar spear. He refuses slightly, but then she convinces him, saying it should be with Mandalorians. She asks where Mando's little friend is. He says back at the ship. So Mando then goes to get Grogu. The new mayor is what I'm going to call him, because I think he kind of was appointed mayor again. He comes out of the city to stand beside Ahsoka before they both head back in. We cut ahead, and Mando is looking around the ship, notices Grogu sleeping. He wakes Grogu up, saying it's time to say goodbye. Mando is taking the child out of the ship when Ahsoka says, "You're like a father to him, and I cannot train him." Again, recognizing that attachment and just the, everything. But Mando says that she made a promise, and he held up his end. She then offers another possibility. I want to say probably giving that, or, feeding off of that loophole in the wording. She's helping, but not training him herself. She says that he could take Grogu to a planet named Tython, where there's ancient ruins of a temple that has a strong connection to the Force. There, he is to place Grogu on top of the Seeing Stone at the top of the mountain, and it is there that Grogu will reach out, or choose his path, but he can reach out through the Force to other Jedi who will come searching for him.
Yeah.
She says, though, with a disclaimer, then again, there aren't many Jedi left.
So,
yeah.
This right here, especially right after this episode aired, had a lot of theories. Coming from that little bit of dialogue.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many, it's like if he reaches out, it's like, okay, well, if he reaches out through the Force to a bunch of other Jedi, what Jedi are, around right now?
Yeah,
it's
it's what Jedi are still alive, which ones are most likely to show up.
Right, yeah.
Like, who could we potentially, maybe see?
Mm-hmm.
And so the ones that I saw that were like the big, the top ones that I saw,
yeah.
Was, obviously Luke was one of them. One of the options.
Right around
he was like
this
the
time.
most likely option.
Yeah, right around this time,
according to those.
Right after Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably him.
And then another one actually was Ezra Bridger, which is like the main character of Rebels.
Okay.
Another one was actually Mace Windu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we never saw a body with him.
Yeah, with another way of potentially bringing him back.
Mm-hmm.
There was what's his name? Cal Kestis from
Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order, and Seer from Fallen Order as well.
That one's
I'm
not.
trying to think of who else there was.
Seer. Is that the lady?
She was the chick that starts a company that first picks up Cal Kestis off of the planet where he started.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. But it was basically like her and Cal would be, there together if they were to show up.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I'm trying to think of who else. there was 2 or 3 others. I'm drawing a blank on who they were now because obviously it can't be Yoda, it can't be
Yeah.
Obi-Wan,
Mm.
it can't be anyone else on the Jedi Council that we saw back from Episode 3.
Yeah. Most of them are dead.
Um, and so yeah, a lot of them were like side characters or like
Yeah.
TV show characters, um,
Yeah.
or I guess video game characters as well, like Cal.
Mm-hmm.
But the only one that was like from the original Jedi Order that could potentially show up was Mace Windu, just because, you know, he quote unquote died. We never actually saw the dead
Yeah.
body. Jedi can fall a long distance and still survive using the Force, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
And I actually did see a I guess, we don't. This isn't saying one way or another who ends up, if they make an appearance or whatever. But I did see a rumor where Mace Windu may appear in The Mandalorian coming up. But
Yeah, I saw something like
yeah,
that
it's
too.
it's like those kind of things where it's like, where do you even hear this?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I just remember when this episode first aired, there was a lot of theories
Mhm.
of, if a Jedi is going to show up to train Grogu, like who's going to show up? In the case of like Mace Windu, is he going to look all scarred and have a robotic hand?
Yeah.
In the case of like Cal, like how, like, are they going to try and bring back the actor that played Cal for the game? Are they going to,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of like
There's a
who
lot of
this,
what
who
ifs
that,
and all
what
that.
if this, what if that, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. But anyway, just to finish off the episode here, she says, yeah, there aren't very many Jedi left. Mando thanks her. She says, may the Force be with you. She smiles at Grogu as they walk onto the ship, fire it up, and take off. And Ahsoka kind of goes back towards the city, kind of looks back over her shoulder, watching them leave, and just kind of smiles. And then we get the end credits. So end episode right there. But yeah, that is chapter 13 of The Mandalorian. Any comments, I guess?
I'll just say, personally, I really did not care for the actor they chose to play Ahsoka. Personally, I don't think she did a very good job playing the character.
Well,
just personal opinion.
I guess though, but
But
and I haven't really seen too much of Ahsoka, but I mean, you gotta keep in mind it's 20 years later or whatever.
I know. I just
And so
think
it'd be
from an acting standpoint, I don't think she did a very good acting job.
I see.
It is my only. That's my only downside of the episode. Because I still thoroughly enjoyed the episode. I'm glad that they brought Ahsoka back and gave us another a reoccurrence of Ahsoka. Personally, I just don't think they did the best when it came to choosing an actor for her.
I see.
But I mean, like I said, I still thoroughly enjoy the episode. That's just my only, I guess. I don't know what the word. I'm having trouble thinking of words tonight.
It's okay, buddy. I'm here for you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's my only thought, I guess.
I see.
When it comes to the end of the episode. My only negative, I guess.
Yeah. I see. Okay. Well, yeah, I suppose then, as I said, that's the end of chapter 13. So, next time, very next podcast episode, we will be covering and starting into our part 4 of Fellowship of the Ring. And then next on Mandalorian, obviously, we'll cover chapter 14. But yeah, keep on listening. Share around with your friends. If you want to get in contact with us, all of our contact information and other methods of creative whatever we do is in the description. We did make a change to our review goals. What number are we at now for wanting to shoot for a live stream?
We're now doing 25 Apple Podcast reviews for a live stream for the podcast,
Yep.
where you guys can interact with us, and while we do a live coverage of whatever episode or part of a movie that we're on at that time. As always, every 1,000 downloads is a blooper reel. We just
Yep.
released the fourth one not too long ago.
Yeah.
So hope you guys are enjoying that.
Yeah.
But then, obviously links will be in the description for, the Discord server, the TikTok, what else is there?
Instagram, all that stuff. Yeah, all the links are down
that
there.
stuff.
It's fine. Just check it. But yeah, I suppose see you next time.
Peace.
Deuces.